While other people awaken superpowers and befriend adorable pets, I ended up with the four great pests: rats, flies, mosquitoes, and cockroaches operating deep within the city's sewers. But it was thanks to these drunken, society-rejected sewer rats that I managed to uncover some truly shocking secrets. If you're enjoying the story, please leave a like and follow to support the series and help new episodes come out even faster. Now, let's continue the story. I'm not saying this to clear Feng Linlin's name, but as women, I believe you understand how painful it is to be violated and then threatened with explicit footage. I hope you can help us find that clip. Chow Tinok fell silent. All along, she had believed that Feng Linlin was a manipulative homewrecker, seducing her husband and destroying her family. She hated her to the core, especially since she was the one who directly sent her husband to his death. But now, the truth had been turned upside down. Feng Linlin was the real victim, assaulted by Ma Hoa Min and then forced into becoming his mistress through blackmail with explicit footage. Chow Tinok lifted her reddened eyes to look at me, then at Tam Na, who was waiting. If the police need to find the clip, I'll cooperate. But as for anything else, I'm afraid I can't help further. After all, Ma Hoa Min was not only her husband, but also the father of her children. The emotional blow was simply too great. I felt a slight disappointment, but I had expected this reaction. Ms. Chow, where did Manager Ma usually hide important items? Follow me. Chow Tinok stood up and led the way. There's a safe in his study. I opened it earlier. There was only some cash, gold bars, the property title, and our marriage certificate. Her gaze flickered with sorrow as she looked at the bright red certificate lying inside the safe. I know the password to this safe too. If it were some kind of affair video used to blackmail others, he wouldn't be stupid enough to hide it here. A police officer stepped forward, reaching into the safe and carefully checking every corner and blind spot, but eventually shook his head and reported to Tam Na that there was nothing. Tam Na said politely, Ms. Chow, we'll need to conduct a full search of the house. Please rest assured, we'll be careful and won't damage any of your property. Chow Tinok didn't seem to care much. Go ahead and search wherever you want. With that, she quietly walked out to the living room. In the master bedroom, a large wedding photo of the couple still hung on the wall. In the picture, Chow Tinok still had that same graceful beauty, but she looked much younger and more radiant. As for Ma Hoa Min, surprisingly, he had once looked quite handsome. No potbelly, no balding head. Standing beside Chow Tinok, they looked like a perfectly matched couple. Time truly is ruthless. Tam Na withdrew his gaze and ordered an officer to take down the wedding photo to check the space behind it. Then he turned to me and asked, Hamak, do you sense anything? I honestly couldn't get used to Tam Na's tendency to rely on spiritual intuition. I shook my head immediately. Nothing so far. While the officers were turning the bedroom upside down, I wandered around. According to my intelligence network logic, where do rats, cockroaches, and flies gather the most? Of course, the kitchen. But the moment I stepped into the kitchen, I froze. It was too clean. Not the cold, sterile kind of cleanliness like the lair of the killer Truvu. This kitchen had an oddly warm and cozy feel. A cute cat paw-shaped dish sponge, cheerful flower magnets on the fridge, everything neatly arranged. Every detail showed how much care the lady of the house had put into this space. I opened the cabinet under the sink, pressed my face close to the tight corners between the wall and the refrigerator, those hardest to clean hidden spots, searching carefully. Then I wandered through the bathroom and back out to the living room. Not a single trace of my intelligence network. Helpless, I pretended to be casually curious and struck up a conversation with Chow Tinok. Ms. Chow, how do you keep your place this spotless? My place doesn't even have a single fly. Does that mean it's completely immune to rats and cockroaches too? Ever since learning that I was a police consultant, Chow Tinok had become more cautious. She frowned slightly and countered. What do you mean by that? Nothing, really, I quickly covered. It's just that lately my apartment's been getting a lot of visits from rats and cockroaches. I've tried everything but can't get rid of them completely, so I wanted to learn some of your cleaning tricks. Hearing me complain, Chow Ti Nok studied my expression carefully. Seeing nothing suspicious, she replied calmly. In high-rise apartments, it's rare to have rats. If you do, there's probably a gap connecting to the ventilation system. You should check and seal it when you get back. As for cockroaches, to be honest, we had them when we first moved in too. My eyes lit up. My heart started pounding. Where there are cockroaches, there's hope. But Chow Ti Nok immediately poured cold water over it. I bought some specialized cockroach traps and placed them in the corners. After catching about a dozen, they completely disappeared, haven't seen any since. Me. Oh my God. A house being completely free of pests should be a good thing. But for me right now, it was like a bolt from the blue. If they were extinct, who was I supposed to interrogate? I forced out a stiff, professional smile. I see, those cockroach traps are really something. Seeing my interest, Chow Ti Nok went on enthusiastically about her cleaning routine. Take out the trash every day. Mop the floors with specialized cleaning solutions. I nodded along, pretending to listen attentively. I picked up a bunch of housekeeping tips, but the one thing I needed most, clues, was still nowhere to be found. Tam Na's side wasn't doing any better either. They had practically turned the whole house upside down, ransacked every wardrobe, pulled out every drawer, even opened the toilet tank to check. But the USB drive containing the explicit video was still nowhere to be found. With no other option, Tam Na switched tactics and asked Chow Ti Nok. Ms. Chow, is it possible he hid things somewhere else? Where did he usually go? Did he rent any safe deposit boxes at a bank? Typical police questioning, every question sharp and on point. I stood quietly to the side, listening to Chow Ti Nok's response, not daring to interrupt and mess things up. Turns out this Ma Hoa Min, aside from being lecherous, also liked to act like a refined gentleman. Every week he would attend wine-tasting clubs, and on weekends he'd carry his clubs out to play golf. Hearing that, I felt a bitter pang inside. While I was slogging through overtime at work, he was out there leisurely swinging on lush green lawns. Life really is unfair. With a new direction in mind, Tam Na and I quickly pulled out. But even after racing around and checking all of Ma Hoa Min's usual hangouts, the result was still a perfect zero. That USB containing the incriminating video seemed to have vanished into thin air. Or, what if it never existed in the first place? Holding on to that doubt, Tam Na returned to headquarters and had Feng Lin Lin brought in for another interrogation. He slammed the table and barked. Feng Lin Lin, you're lying to us, aren't you? Startled, she hurriedly tried to defend herself. No, I'm not lying. How could I joke about something as serious as my own dignity? He really did assault me. That video must have been hidden by him. Did you check the hotel's security cameras from that night? Tam Na's cold expression crushed her last hope. We've checked the hotel cameras and questioned the front desk staff on duty. The result? You were not drunk to the point of losing awareness or being unable to walk. The footage clearly shows you walking on your own, holding on to Ma Hoa Min, going to the front desk together to get a room. Feng Lin Lin's face instantly turned pale as a sheet. She panicked, shaking her head frantically, her voice trembling in disbelief. No, that's impossible. I was drugged and drunk. He carried me into the room. How could I have walked in myself? Tam Na opened his phone and pushed the extracted security footage in front of her. Although the camera quality was blurry and her facial expression couldn't be clearly seen, her figure and the outfit she wore that night were unmistakable. The footage clearly showed Feng Lin Lin draping her arms around Ma Hoa Min, walking steadily into the hotel. Her last line of defense shattered. The firm belief she had held on to all this time suddenly collapsed, revealed to be nothing more than a false memory. She screamed hysterically, slamming both hands onto the interrogation table with loud, jarring bangs. No. He raped me. He admitted it himself. When I was drunk and unaware, he took advantage of me. He even recorded a video and showed it to me. I've watched that clip dozens of times. That disgusting old man even used it for entertainment, watching it while laughing like a pervert. How could I have willingly followed him into a hotel? That's impossible. Standing outside the one-way observation room, watching Feng Lin completely break down, my heart tightened. No matter how all the current evidence pointed against her, deep down, I still chose to believe her. I believed that shy girl, who would blush furiously just from a colleague's teasing remark, who always kept her head down and worked diligently, was truly a victim. Someone who had been assaulted, cornered, and left with no way out. Only then would she have chosen such an extreme way to end the life of her abuser. But if we couldn't find solid evidence of that video, not only would Feng Lin fail to receive leniency as a victim, she would also be charged with making false statements and obstructing the investigation, and face the maximum sentence. I couldn't just stand by and watch things end like this. When Tam Na finished the interrogation and stepped out, I stopped him and said firmly, "Officer Tam, I want to go back to Ma Hoa Min's house. But this time, I want to be there alone, no one else monitoring me." This wasn't the first time I'd made such a strange request. Although Tam Na still didn't understand how my so-called spiritual ability worked, he didn't press further. Scratching his head, he said, "I'll report it to Captain Tran and see what he says. But you have to understand, this isn't a crime scene, it's someone's private residence. On what grounds can we ask Chow Ti Nok to leave her own home just so you can have free reign there alone?" Unexpectedly, after Captain Tran made the call to negotiate, the result came back beyond imagination. Chow Ti Nok agreed to give up the house, but on one condition: she wanted to speak with me privately first. Of course, I didn't refuse. But the first question she asked me over the phone was, "Mok, tell me, what kind of person is that Feng Lin, really?" I paused for a moment, then slowly recounted my impressions of Feng Lin during our time working together. I didn't exaggerate or fabricate anything to clear her name, just told the truth of what I had seen and heard: a quiet, reserved girl from a poor rural background, diligent and hardworking. In the end, I concluded with my personal view. "Ms. Chow, from a subjective standpoint, I don't believe someone with Feng Lin's personality would willingly trade her body to interfere in and destroy someone else's family." Chow Ti Nok listened in silence. After a long while, she let out a heavy sigh. To be honest, I had a vague sense for a long time that he was seeing someone else. Sometimes he came home late from work, carrying the faint scent of hotel body wash. But I wanted to preserve the image of a peaceful family, so I chose to turn a blind eye. In Chow Ti Nok's mind, her children were already grown, and she herself was entering her later years. As long as Ma Hoa Min continued to hand over 2/3 of his salary every month and still made token gestures like giving flowers and gifts on holidays, she was willing to compromise and maintain the comfortable life of a lawful wife. Digging deeper would only risk tearing the family apart. Now, thinking back, her voice choked with emotion. If I had taken a stand back then, exposed his infidelity earlier, maybe things wouldn't have ended up like this. If Chow Ti Nok had intervened sooner, perhaps Ma Hoa Min wouldn't have sunk so deeply into his crimes, wouldn't have died on that hotel bed. And the young girl, Feng Lin, wouldn't have been dragged into legal trouble, sacrificing her youth behind prison bars. I hadn't expected Chow Ti Nok to blame herself so heavily. I hurried to comfort her. "Ms. Chow, please don't blame yourself. The only one at fault here is Ma Hoa Min. Both you and Feng Lin are victims, deceived and hurt by him." Chow Ti Nok gave a faint, bitter smile. "Mok, you said you wanted to stay alone at my house, right? What exactly are you planning to do?" I hesitated. "I'm sorry, Ms. Chow. I can't explain the method clearly, but I promise I won't do anything illegal." A pang of guilt gnawed at me. "Sorry, Ms. Chow. I'm lying. I'm going there to summon an army of the 4 great pests to turn your spotless, fragrant home upside down. For someone with a cleanliness obsession like you, this would probably be the worst nightmare imaginable." Chow Ti Nok had already developed a favorable impression of me from the time I drove her to catch her husband cheating, so she didn't make things difficult. "All right, go ahead. I'll stay at a nearby hotel tonight. Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Chow. To prepare for my summoning, I stopped by a pastry shop that was about to close and bought up all the remaining sponge cakes and cream cakes on the shelves, especially the ones loaded with butter, oil, and sickly sweet cream. Tam Na was assigned to escort me. When he saw me carrying a huge pile of pastries to the car, his eyes widened. You bought this much, are you planning to throw yourself a midnight feast in someone else's house? I answered vaguely. Something like that. Meanwhile, I muttered inwardly, if it's for cockroaches to eat, it still counts as eating, right? Tam Na looked conflicted and tried to offer some advice. Young girls eating too many sweets late at night, bad for your weight, your teeth, even your heart. Got it. I nodded absent-mindedly, while internally screaming. Who was it that dragged me out in the middle of the night for fried chicken and soda? If not you guys from the criminal police, then who? Tam Na seemed to recall his own late-night eating habits and scratched his head awkwardly. Well, we've been exhausted from working cases lately. Just needed some sugary, fatty food for energy. I smiled, pretending to understand. He immediately regained his serious expression. Hamak, are you confident you can find that video? From his eyes, I could tell he truly hoped I would pull off a miracle, give that poor girl a chance at a new life. I answered firmly. I'll do everything I can. There was no trace of joking in my voice, only determination and resolve. Tam Na smiled in relief and pressed down on the gas. The car sped through the night, slicing through the darkness as it quickly took me to Chow Ti Nak's house. By the time we arrived, Chow Ti Nak had already packed her personal belongings and was ready to leave. She kindly showed me how to use the electrical appliances in the house. There's food in the fridge, feel free to help yourself. I just replaced the charcoal in the living room heater too. Make yourself at home, don't be shy. Seeing how exhausted and gaunt she had become in just 2 days after the incident, yet still maintaining her grace and thoughtfulness, I felt a pang of sympathy. Without that terrible husband, Mahoa Min, I was certain she would have a much freer and brighter new life ahead. Thank you so much, Ms. Chow. It's nothing. If you need anything, just call me. Chow Ti Nak nodded gently, then left with Tam Na, carrying her bags. Tam Na's task was to escort her safely to a hotel. As soon as the door closed, I got straight to work. I gathered several large plastic bags, about the size of a tabletop, tore them open, and spread them across the living room floor. Then I began tearing apart the cakes, cream cakes, sponge cakes, crushing them into a mush and scattering them over the plastic sheets. A thick layer of buttery, oily, sweet-smelling cake spread across the floor, filling the room with a rich aroma. Even I found it mouth-watering, let alone cockroaches that were crazy about sweets. Looking at this massive feast, I thought to myself, a premium buffet like this, eat as much as you want, gorge yourselves until you can't anymore. I left only a dim yellow light on in the corner, wrapped myself in a thin blanket, and curled up in a dark spot out of the light, holding my breath as I waited. Afraid that my phone's light might disturb my special guests, I put it away and stared fixedly at the sugary spread while my mind raced. Maybe my plan was a bit sloppy. Spreading bait like this would definitely attract cockroaches, but the question was, when would they show up? At this rate, maybe not even by morning. Should I reuse my old trick from when I tracked down Truvu? That is, rely on the cockroach network outside the area to gather information. Insects of the same kind would surely communicate faster with each other. Or should I go down to the garbage area in the basement and lure a snitch cockroach up here? But thinking about it, that didn't seem feasible either. In a high-end apartment building with such tight security, trash was handled properly. Honestly, the garbage area might even be cleaner than my dining table. Who knows if there'd even be a single cockroach to catch? Or maybe I should just go on Taobao and order a few boxes of pet cockroaches, Xiaochang, and raise them myself to build some rapport? Then whenever there's a case, I could just bring them along and release them to sniff out witnesses. That would be way more reliable than randomly laying out food and hoping for luck like this. But that was something to think about later. Right now, the key question was, would Chow Ti Nak's house actually lure any cockroaches? I strained my eyes staring at the pile of cakes until they stung and watered. Finally, in a dim corner, a tiny black shadow darted past. It rushed straight toward the mountain of cream cakes I had built. Its brown shell was quickly coated in thick white frosting. I held my breath and stayed perfectly still. Sure enough, a soft, childish, slightly whiny voice rang out. "Oh my gosh, where did all this delicious food come from? There's so much, how can my tiny stomach possibly hold it all? I have to go call mom, dad, big brother, second sister, third sister, fourth brother." The little cockroach kept muttering, counting off siblings all the way up to who knows how many before running out of breath. It reluctantly licked another mouthful of rich, buttery cream, then suddenly turned and disappeared into the darkness. I waited patiently. Less than 2 minutes later, that same cream-covered shadow returned. But this time, it wasn't alone, it brought along an entire swarm. Hundreds of cockroaches of all sizes scuttled behind it in a rustling, writhing mass. My scalp prickled, goosebumps rising all over my skin. I thought to myself, that saying is absolutely true, if you see one cockroach, there's definitely a whole nest hiding somewhere. Watching the entire cockroach clan swarm the cakes, tearing and devouring them like crazy, eating while praising the little one for discovering such a treasure, I suppressed my revulsion, cleared my throat, and spoke. "Is it good? Stop praising that one. Remember, I'm the one who prepared this feast for you. Otherwise, even if it grew 10 more eyes, it still wouldn't have found it. Praise me instead." My voice suddenly echoing in the middle of the night startled the entire cockroach family. But since the frequency of my voice matched theirs, they assumed I was one of their own. One cockroach shrieked. "Lang 107, we know you were the one who found this pile of food. You deserve the most credit. But don't try to change your voice and pretend to be some spirit just to make us praise you more." Another chimed in. "Exactly. Making things up and claiming you're the one who prepared this feast, aren't you ashamed?" A third one spoke in a lecturing tone. "Lang 107, you should learn humility from Sister Lang 89 and Little Lang 137. Ah, so Lang 107 was the cream-covered little cockroach from earlier." It looked confused and hurriedly tried to defend itself. "I didn't say anything. That wasn't me." As soon as it finished speaking, Lang 107 looked up and saw a massive shadow slowly emerging from the dark corner. It screamed in terror. "It's a human. That voice just now, it was a human." The entire cockroach clan burst into loud laughter. One of them clutched its belly, wheezing. "Ha ha ha, are you hallucinating from too much cream, 107? Since when can we understand human language?" Seeing no one believed it, Lang 107 panicked and shouted. "It's real. It really is a human. Everyone, turn around and look over there. If it's not a human, then it's a giant monster. Run." Afraid they would scatter, I quickly spoke up. "Hey, don't run. I'm not here to kill you. I just need your help with something." But it was too late. The cockroaches had already seen my large figure clearly. "Oh my God, it's really a human. Run. Hurry. Humans are here to smash us. Our nest has been exposed. We're doomed." Hundreds of cockroaches screamed in panic, scattering in all directions like a disturbed hive. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into cracks and crevices without a trace. All that remained on the floor were countless tiny cream-smeared footprints, barely noticeable unless you looked closely. Hundreds had escaped successfully, except for one. A tiny cockroach, too greedy for food, had crawled deep into the core of the cake pile. The hardened vegetable cream had glued it in place, trapping it no matter how hard it struggled. "Wah! Mom! Dad! Brother Lang 107! Help me!" The little cockroach cried out in sheer terror. I slowly crouched down, softening my voice as much as possible. "Stop crying, kid. I told you, I'm not going to hurt you. All I got in response was the little cockroach's soft, sniffling sobs. I had no choice but to sit there patiently and wait for it to calm down, though inwardly I grumbled. Damn, this cockroach's tear ducts are way too well developed. All that crying is seriously getting on my nerves. Suddenly, another childish voice came from the edge of the plastic sheet. Lang 6, don't be scared, I'm here. I froze. Lang 6? Just how many were in one brood of cockroaches? A moment ago it was Lang 107, and now there's a Lang 6. I glanced over, turns out the one bravely showing up to help was that same Lang 107 from before. They all looked identical. If not for the voice, even with 10 eyes I wouldn't be able to tell them apart. The cockroach stuck in the cream sobbed. Brother Lang 107, don't worry about me. I got trapped because I was greedy. You should run, just let that giant human crush me. Lang 107 stepped over crumbs and stood boldly at the foot of the cream mountain, looking up at its younger sister and declaring firmly. No, Lang 6. If I hadn't found this food, you wouldn't have been caught. I'll definitely protect you. Wah. Brother Lang 107. The two Xiaochang siblings put on such an emotional life and death farewell scene that I almost got teary-eyed myself. But wait a second, I didn't spend all that money buying out the entire bakery just to host a cockroach drama performance here. Annoyed, I cut in. I'll say this one last time. I prepared all this food because I have something to ask you. As long as you tell me what I want to know, I promise I won't kill any of you. And all this food? It's yours to enjoy. Lang 107 looked half convinced, half skeptical, but still spoke up with a condition. Who would believe words alone? If you've got guts, pull Lang 6 out of that cream first, then I'll believe you. I stared at the tiny cockroach struggling in the sticky, greasy cream, goosebumps rising all over my skin. You want me to grab a cream-covered cockroach with my bare hands? I shuddered, quickly grabbing a disposable plastic glove I had used for handling the cakes and putting it on. Using just my thumb and index finger, I carefully pinched the little cockroach by its side and slowly lifted it up. As I did, I muttered under my breath. What kind of plant-based cream is this? It's hard as concrete. Good thing I grabbed its side. If I'd accidentally pulled on those tiny antennae, they'd probably snap right off. The little cockroach dangled in midair, completely panicked. Its 4 spiky legs flailed wildly, scratching against the plastic glove with a creepy rustling sound. Aya! The human caught me. She caught me, Brother 107. Goosebumps spread all over my body. Fighting down the nausea, I hurriedly set the tiny cockroach onto the clean tile floor. See? I told you, I'm not going to hurt you. Before I could finish, Lang 107 let out a sharp scream. Run. With that, it bolted straight toward a crack it had already scoped out. It was certain that its little sister, Lang 6, would follow close behind and escape safely. But wait. After a moment, when no one followed, Lang 107 peeked its head back out. Its little sister, Lang 6, not only didn't run, she was actually inching closer to the giant creature, me. The cream-covered little cockroach swayed its antennae innocently, looking up at me with curiosity. Big sis, are you really giving all this delicious food to us? From the crack in the wall, Lang 107's desperate scream rang out. Lang 6. What on earth are you doing out there? Run, you idiot. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. You helped me answer a few questions, and this whole feast is yours. Eat as much as you want. Lang 6 lit up with delight and didn't hold back at all. Turning toward the wall, it shouted loudly. Brother 107. Sister 89. Mom, Dad. Everyone, come out. The giant sister says all this food is ours to eat. The cockroaches hiding in the cracks all cursed inwardly at the same time. Stupid pig. Why would you believe a human's words? They're just waiting to smash us and wipe us out completely. Seeing his little sister completely brainwashed, Lang 107 wore a tragic, martyr-like expression and cautiously stepped out from the crack, calling after her. Lang 6, come over here. I need to talk to you. Lang 6 blinked in confusion. What is it? Just say it here. Why do I have to go over there? Lang 107 glared at me, not daring to speak out loud in case I understood him. I couldn't help laughing and exposed him directly. He wants to lure you over so he can drag you away and run. He's afraid I'll squish you. Lang 6 looked up at me, her compound eyes blinking. So, will you squash me? I shook my head firmly. Never. Hearing my assurance, Lang 6 immediately turned back toward her brother Lang 107, whose face had already gone ashen, and declared resolutely. Brother 107, did you hear that? She said she won't squash us. After hearing my promise, Cockroach 107 still looked nervous, but seeing that I remained standing still with my arms crossed, he finally crept closer. So, big sis, you said you needed our help with something? What is it? Besides eating trash, causing chaos, and multiplying like crazy, we honestly don't know how to do much else. I couldn't help smirking a little. Don't underestimate yourselves. Cockroaches can crawl into every crack and hidden corner in a house. You guys are basically elite spies for gathering intel. I cleared my throat. You and your family have lived here your whole lives, right? Cockroach 107 nodded immediately. Yep. Ever since I crawled out of my egg, I've never left this house even once. I started with a basic round of questioning. So, have you ever seen a bald, overweight man living here with a beautiful woman? Obviously, cockroaches had no concept of human beauty standards, but they definitely understood the difference between skinny and fat. Cockroach 107 answered right away. Yeah, I know them. Sometimes their daughter comes home to visit too. I nodded thoughtfully before getting to the important part. Then have you ever seen that overweight guy sitting in the living room watching, romantic adult videos involving another woman? My previous experience talking with the female cockroach at the Feng Rue Hotel had already taught me something important. When communicating with these four great pests, you had to use extremely direct and visual descriptions or they simply wouldn't understand. Cockroach 107 searched his memory for a moment before nodding rapidly. Oh yeah, I remember now. I've seen that before. My heart instantly started pounding. Really? Then what happened afterward? What did he usually do after watching? Cockroach 107 immediately launched into a detailed explanation. Well, while watching, he kept breathing heavily, then he grabbed some tissues and reached his hand down under. Okay, stop right there. I quickly cut him off. Okay, we do not need that level of detail. If you keep describing stuff like that, my channel's getting hit by the censorship hammer immediately. I rubbed my chest and took a deep breath to calm myself down. Skip that part. What I actually mean is, after he got dressed and turned off the TV, what did he do next? Cockroach 107 was known as the smartest and boldest member of the entire cockroach family. That was exactly why he dared to sneak around the house even in broad daylight. Thanks to that, he had accidentally witnessed Ma Hoa Min sitting in the living room watching his homemade adult videos. After that, Cockroach 107 explained, I saw him reach behind the TV and pull out this tiny thing about the size of your finger. Then he dragged over a stool, climbed up high, and stuffed the thing inside the chandelier. I instinctively looked up at the ceiling. Hanging in the center of the living room was an elegant crystal chandelier with a classic vintage design. Around the bulbs were decorative glass covers shaped like upside-down wine glasses. If Ma Hoa Min had hidden the USB containing those videos inside one of those glass covers, then no wonder nobody had found it. The police had searched through cabinets, drawers, and under the bed, but who would have guessed he'd use the hide a leaf in the forest trick and stash the evidence up near the ceiling? Unless someone climbed up with a flashlight and checked every single corner carefully, the USB would remain completely invisible. Lang 107, you're amazing! I shouted excitedly. I immediately ran off to look for a stool. Thankfully, it was easy to find, tucked right behind the storage room door. I dragged it into the middle of the living room, took a deep breath, climbed up, and carefully reached into each glass cover one by one. Down below, Cockroach 107 enthusiastically guided me like an air traffic controller. A little more to the left, big sis. No, the one farther left. Yeah, that one. Reach deeper inside. Holding my breath, I slid my fingers carefully into the glass cover. I felt something hard and rectangular, but my arms were just slightly too short to grab it properly. I stretched higher, stepped up one more level, and finally pinched the object between my fingers before slowly pulling it out. Under the dim yellow light, a shiny silver USB drive appeared in my hand. I couldn't stop the huge smile spreading across my face. Finally. I found you, you old fox. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if I should plug the USB into my phone and check the contents right away. But reason stopped me. Honestly, I didn't have the courage to watch whatever horrifying thing might be stored inside by myself. If it truly contained footage of Ma Huoming assaulting Feng Lingling, the image of a young woman being abused and treated like an object would probably haunt me for the rest of my life. I carefully slipped the silver USB drive into my pocket and looked down at the cockroach swarm below. The dessert buffet was still in full swing. Not 100 roaches, but an entire army. There were so many that counting them was impossible. The once white cream cakes had practically turned dark brown from the mass of crawling bodies covering every inch of the surface. It was genuinely horrifying. The kind of scene that sticks in your mind forever. I fought back the urge to throw up and repeatedly reminded myself not to pull out my phone and record the nightmare in front of me. If a video like this ever got uploaded online, half the viewers would probably lose their appetite for life. The platform moderation team would delete the clip instantly. Once this case is over, I'm definitely going to tell Xiaoxiyu to sell this house and move somewhere else. An infestation on this scale is beyond saving. Still, no matter how many there were, cockroaches were only insects. Their stomachs could only hold so much food. The expensive pastries I bought barely looked touched even after the entire colony stuffed themselves full. The ones that had eaten enough slowly began retreating back into the cracks and holes in the walls. Before leaving, I made sure to thank my top informant, Lang 107. I praised him as the smartest, quickest, and most useful little cockroach I had ever met. Hearing that, Lang 107 puffed out his chest proudly and walked over with his chubby younger sister, Lang 6. Of course, the two still kept a safe distance from me. The second I made any suspicious move, they were clearly prepared to run for their lives. I didn't expect this human lady to actually be nice, Lang 107 said in amazement. She really gave us all this food for free. No traps. No smashing us. I nodded smugly, about to respond. When suddenly, a thought flashed across my mind. A bold idea suddenly popped into my head. My eyes lit up instantly. I cleared my throat and switched to a tempting, persuasive tone. Hey, you two, want to live the good life from now on? Endless desserts, good food every day, no more starving. Lang 107 narrowed his eyes suspiciously, still thinking things over. But his little sister, Lang 6, squealed in excitement before he could even respond. Yes. Yes. I want that. I love sweets, giant lady. If cockroaches could roll their eyes, Lang 107 probably would have done it right then. In his mind, he was already calling his sister an idiot. Nothing in life comes for free. Sure, everyone likes good food. But he still looked at me cautiously and asked. Sounds nice, but what exactly do we have to give up in return? I smiled brightly. Pack your things and come with me. I'll provide food and shelter. In exchange, you work for me. Fair deal. Labor in exchange for meals. Meanwhile, my brain was already running calculations. Instead of wasting money online buying random pet cockroaches with zero intelligence, why not recruit these two clever little informants right in front of me? Silence filled the room. Leaving their territory behind to follow a human sounded incredibly suspicious. Even the food-loving Lang 6 started hesitating. She turned to look at her older brother nervously. Brother 107, should we go? If we stay with this giant lady, we'll probably get delicious food every day and won't have to hide in cracks anymore. Lang 107 stroked his antennae thoughtfully. Aside from humans who bought cockroaches as reptile or bird food, he had never heard of anyone wanting to recruit roaches as partners. What exactly would we even do for you? He finally asked curiously. You want us spying and gathering information like today? Bingo. I snapped my fingers with a grin, secretly impressed by how ridiculously smart this cockroach was. From now on, I'm going to be visiting a lot of different crime scenes. Your job is simple: infiltrate the local cockroach networks, gather information, and bring me any useful clues. As for everything else, we'll figure it out along the way. Deal? It sounded almost like a real job interview. Lang 107 wasn't like ordinary cockroaches that spent their lives hiding in dark corners, surviving off scraps left behind by humans. He was ambitious. He dreamed of using his stealth abilities to build a better life, one filled with endless food and comfort. If he didn't have that kind of ambition, he never would have risked showing himself to negotiate with me tonight. The Ma family's house was already turning into a dangerous mess after the scandal. Who knew when the place would be sealed off for investigation? Once that happened, there wouldn't even be leftovers to scavenge anymore. Following this giant human lady might actually change his future. I'm in, Lang 107 finally said. Deal. I broke into a huge grin. Lang 6 stared at him in shock and squeaked loudly. Brother 107. You're really going with her? Then I'm coming too. Her love for food had officially defeated her fear. Good, I said. Go back to your nest and see if any relatives want to join too. Anyone who works with me gets fed. No starving. No struggling for scraps anymore. But Lang 107 immediately crushed my optimism. Don't get too excited, giant lady. Most of them are cowards. Roaches are terrified of humans. I doubt many would dare come with you. Still worth trying, I replied with a shrug. If nobody joins, I'll just order baby cockroaches online and train them myself. Lang 107 and his sister disappeared back into the crack in the wall. A short while later, he returned with 6 more recruits. Including him, there were now 7 cockroaches standing in front of me. Clearing his throat proudly, Lang 107 began introducing them one by one to their new boss. This is Lang number 8, this is Lang number 47, this is Lang number 500, this little one is Lang number 666, that's Lang number 665, and the youngest is Lang S. Hello, giant sister, the entire group greeted in unison. My head instantly started hurting. What kind of naming system was this? Why were they all named with numbers? After a quick discussion, I decided to call them by their assigned numbers to make things easier to remember. Lang 107. Lang 6. I'd figure out the others later. To be honest, they all looked exactly the same anyway. Alright then, unlucky squad, I said, opening up a clean plastic bag. Everybody climb inside. We're heading to your new base. Cleaning up the scene was an important step. Even though I secretly complained about how much cake these roaches had wasted, I couldn't just leave the place looking like a disaster zone. If Chao Shiyu discovered it, she'd probably think I had some kind of midnight dessert addiction and lived like a complete maniac. I carefully swept every last crumb and leftover pastry into the trash bag and sealed it tightly. Then I placed my 7-member cockroach intelligence team into a small plastic container with air holes before hiding it safely inside my backpack. Mission complete. Time to evacuate. Lang 666 and Lang 665, the youngest members of the group, were incredibly excited. Especially Lang 666. The little glutton had apparently been born hungry. The second he got inside the bag, he buried his face into leftover frosting and started eating nonstop. Lang 500, the older sister beside him, immediately started scolding him anxiously. Slow down, idiot. You're gonna eat so much your shell explodes. I couldn't help laughing as I lightly tapped the bag. You guys better stay hidden. Don't let anyone spot you. Now that I finally had the USB containing critical evidence, I immediately called Tam Na like we had agreed earlier. Even though it was already late at night, it only took a short while before the familiar police car pulled up hard in front of the apartment complex entrance. The moment I opened the car door and climbed in, Tam Na immediately noticed the huge plastic bag I was clutching. Huh? You still haven't finished those pastries you bought earlier? He asked casually. Give me one. I'm starving after waiting for you this whole time. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Like a thief caught red-handed, I hurriedly shoved the bag down beneath my feet. I accidentally dropped them on the ground earlier, I lied quickly. They're dirty now. Can't eat them anymore. Inside my head, I was screaming. Eat what? There are cockroaches in here, brother. Tam Na frowned in confusion. If they're dirty, why didn't you throw them away? Why carry them around? I answered without even blinking. Oh, I'm taking them home for my pets. They're not picky. After saying that, I silently comforted my own conscience. Technically, sewer rats could count as pets. Even if the heavens themselves came down to judge me, I could still argue my case. Tam Na simply nodded and didn't press the issue further. He wasn't the type to pry into other people's private lives. More importantly, the thing that truly mattered right now was sitting safely inside my jacket pocket. You really found the USB? He asked immediately, getting straight to business. I proudly pulled out the silver flash drive. Of course. The old man hid it extremely well, tucked inside one of the crystal chandelier covers in the living room. I haven't checked the contents yet, but if he hid it that carefully, there's definitely something suspicious inside. Tam immediately took out an evidence storage bag and gestured for me to place the USB inside. I forgot to give you forensic gloves earlier because I was in a hurry, he explained. When we get back to headquarters, we'll need your fingerprints and DNA samples on file. Seeing my confused expression, he added. So the forensic team can exclude your traces from the crime scene during analysis later. I nodded slowly, pretending I fully understood. Just like Tam Na, I was desperate to know what was hidden inside the USB drive, and whether it contained enough evidence to prove that everything Feng Linlin said was true. The police headquarters at night felt far quieter and colder than during the day. Tam Na called in several officers from the night shift, and together we headed into the meeting room to examine the contents of the USB. I followed closely behind them. Tam Na glanced at me hesitantly. Prepare yourself first, Hamak. The videos in here might contain disturbing or emotionally difficult material. We deal with this kind of evidence all the time, so we're used to it. But you're not only new to this, there might even be people you know in those files. If you want, you can wait outside. I shook my head firmly. It's okay. I need to get used to things like this eventually. I also want to know what kind of disgusting things that old man was doing. Seeing how determined I was, Tam Na stopped trying to persuade me. He plugged the USB into his laptop and connected it to the large projector screen in the meeting room. When the main directory opened, what appeared wasn't a single video file, but multiple folders labeled with different names. Tam Na scrolled through them and read each one aloud. Jianim. Dao Vien Hung. Tru Lam. Vu Tao. Hong Chao. When he reached the name Chao Tinok, his voice paused slightly, but he still didn't open the folder and simply continued scrolling. Tuet Jiao. Tren Sam. Feng Lin Lin. 7 women's names in total. Anyone with average intelligence could immediately guess what kind of content would be hidden inside a secret USB organized like this. The curiosity on my face slowly turned pale with shock. Tren Sam. I know her. She used to work in the same department as me, but she resigned 3 months ago. A cold chill ran down my spine. That disgusting Mahoa Min. So Feng Lin Lin wasn't the only victim. He had been using the same vile methods to manipulate and control multiple female employees inside the company. Since when had that office turned into the twisted private harem of that bald, overweight old man? The moment I confirmed that Trin Sam was a former employee who had recently resigned, fury ignited in Tam Na's eyes. His jaw tightened hard enough to creak, but he didn't say a word. Instead, he decisively double-clicked the folder labeled Feng Lin Lin. Inside were dozens of numbered video files, each carefully labeled with dates, times, hotel names, room numbers, and even notes about camera angles. That bastard. Tam Na finally lost control and cursed under his breath. He actually set up a full hidden camera system. I nearly jumped in surprise. In my impression, police officers were always calm and professional. Hearing him openly swear during work felt shocking enough that I briefly wondered whether it violated department rules. I secretly glanced at the other officers in the room. One scratched his head while staring at the ceiling. Another coughed awkwardly and turned toward the window. Everyone silently acted as if they had suddenly gone deaf and heard absolutely nothing their superior had just said. Apparently, scenes like this had happened more than once whenever Tam Na got furious over a case. My attention was quickly dragged back to the projector screen. Tam Na had already pressed play. The first thing that appeared was the nauseating face of Ma Hoa Min himself, adjusting the hidden camera angle. Once satisfied, he stepped away. The wider frame revealed a woman lying unconscious on a hotel bed. Her clothes were disheveled. Her hair was a mess. It was Feng Lin Lin. Exactly as she had described in her statement, while she was heavily intoxicated and barely aware of her surroundings, Ma Hoa Min had taken advantage of the situation and begun committing unspeakable acts. The audio quality was disturbingly clear, capturing every disgusting threat and manipulative word that came out of his mouth. The young woman looked terrified and powerless, tears running down her face as she endured the nightmare unfolding around her. By the time the video approached its final moments, I had reached my limit. My throat tightened painfully. My stomach twisted violently with nausea. I suddenly pushed my chair back and stood up, throwing out a short sentence before rushing away. Sorry, I needed some air. I turned around and hurried out of the suffocating room filled with tension and despair. I kept walking until I reached the end of the quiet hallway. Standing in front of the open window, I took deep breaths of the cold night air, trying to push away the nausea and unease clinging to my mind. For the first time, I started questioning myself. In the first case, even though I had nearly lost my life, I never had to witness the bloody aftermath directly. But this case was different. There was no blood, no gruesome crime scene, yet the cruelty and corruption hidden behind those videos felt far more disturbing. If I really continued working with the police as a special consultant, then sooner or later I would face even darker crimes and far more dangerous people. Could someone as ordinary as me truly handle a world like that? Here. Have some iced coffee. It'll help you calm down. A warm voice came from behind me. I turned around. Tam Na was standing there, holding an opened can of coffee in one hand while offering me another unopened one. Honestly, I hated the bitter taste of coffee, but right then I needed something strong enough to wake me up. Thanks. I opened the can and took a long sip. The cold bitterness slid down my throat and helped clear the heavy feeling in my chest. Seeing that my face had regained some color, Tam Na finally spoke again in a gentler tone. Those videos were hard to watch, right? Honestly, the fact that you managed to sit through most of it before stepping out already means you handled it better than I did when I first joined the force. I blinked in surprise. Wait, when you first worked a serious case, you were shaken up too? Tam Na scratched the back of his head, looking slightly embarrassed as he brought up memories from his rookie days. But he understood exactly what was going through my mind right now, the fear, the lingering discomfort, and the doubt about whether I was truly capable of handling this kind of work. He also knew how many times Captain Tran had emphasized my importance to the entire investigation unit. The Xi'an High Police Department absolutely could not afford to lose someone like Hamak. I wasn't just a valuable source of leads that could dramatically improve their case-solving efficiency. My existence itself was enough to send a message to criminals. No matter how carefully they tried to hide their crimes, the police would eventually uncover the truth. Wanting to reassure me, Tam Na reluctantly decided to expose his own embarrassing past experience. When I first saw evidence like this, my first reaction was anger, he admitted. But halfway through, after watching what the suspect was doing to the victim, I started feeling sick. I was so disturbed that I actually threw up. I stared at the tall detective in surprise. Right now, he looked completely calm, as if those horrifying videos no longer affected him at all. He gave a faint smile. You get used to it after seeing enough cases. I pressed my lips together. The bitter taste of coffee suddenly felt even stronger. Does this happen often? I asked quietly. Tam Na's expression darkened slightly. In just the past 3 years, our division alone has handled hundreds of serious assault-related cases. On average, around 30 major cases a year, at least 2 or 3 every month. The number may not sound huge, but that's only the visible part handled by one criminal investigation unit. There are many districts in the city, and Baksan itself is only a small city compared to the rest of the country. And the cases we receive are usually the most severe ones. There are still countless incidents reported at local stations, and many more that victims never report at all for personal reasons. Tam Na let out a long sigh. It's like cockroaches, he said quietly. When you see one crawling out into the light, it usually means there are countless more hiding in the dark corners. A chill ran down my spine. That many? I murmured. Tam Na nodded bitterly. A lot. And not every victim is as fortunate as Feng Lin Lin, where we were able to find critical evidence. Many victims never get justice simply because there isn't enough proof to formally charge the perpetrator. Some offenders walk free without facing any legal consequences at all. I looked into Tam Na's eyes and finally understood what he had been trying to tell me this entire time. I'll stay, I said firmly. Like you said, people eventually adapt. I just need to make myself stronger. A small smile appeared on Tam Na's face. She lightly tapped his coffee can against mine. Having you with us won't just improve our investigation success rate. Your existence alone can become a warning to people who think they can get away with hurting others. A reminder that once someone commits a crime, escaping justice won't be easy. And in the end, the biggest goal is still the same, reducing crime and protecting more people. After finishing the last sip of cold coffee, I felt much steadier. Together, Tam Na and I returned to the meeting room to continue reviewing the files. The second video was labeled Trin Sam. The moment the woman's face appeared on screen, I immediately nodded. It's really her, I confirmed softly. She used to work with me. Tam Na's expression turned serious again. Just like Feng Lin Lin, Trin Sam appeared unconscious and heavily intoxicated in the footage. The timestamp showed the recording had been made over a year ago, before I had even joined the company. As I watched, sympathy for the victims mixed with a growing sense of unease deep inside me. Mahola Min truly was a monster hiding behind a human face. He had turned the entire company into his own twisted playground. At that moment, I silently thanked my lifelong rule of never touching alcohol. If not for that habit, I might have become one of his victims too. The remaining 5 folders were opened one after another. Not every recording involved coercion. Some appeared consensual, and there were even private videos involving Chow Tinok, his own wife. But the camera angles made it obvious they had all been secretly recorded without consent. That alone was already a serious criminal offense. Tam Na immediately began planning how to contact the other victims. As long as they were willing to provide statements confirming Ma Hoa Min's manipulation and abuse, Feng Lin Lin's case would likely receive significant leniency. There was even more good news. After learning the truth about her husband's hidden behavior and the number of women involved, Chow Tinok agreed to submit a formal request asking the court to reduce Feng Lin Lin's sentence. Tam Na finally let out a relieved breath. If everything went smoothly, he estimated that Feng Lin Lin might only serve a few years before being released. I felt relieved too. But after spending the entire night reviewing those disturbing files, both my mind and body were completely drained. I grabbed the plastic bag full of leftover cake, which the station janitor had almost thrown away, and dragged myself into a taxi back to my apartment, barely able to keep my eyes open. The moment I got home, I pulled out the box of cockroaches and weakly addressed the 3 sewer rats. "Introduce yourselves properly. These 7 cockroaches are new recruits I brought in to help out. From now on, everyone's sharing the same place, so no fighting and definitely no eating each other. And this cake is for all of you." After saying that, I shuffled off to wash up, then collapsed face first onto the bed and instantly fell asleep. By the time I woke up, the sun was already setting. My stomach growled loudly, but another thought suddenly flashed through my head and instantly woke me up completely. Oh no. I had just brought 7 cockroaches into the territory of 3 sewer rats. Sure, I had warned them earlier, but rats were omnivores by nature. And cockroaches were basically walking bundles of protein and fat. To rats, those cockroaches probably smelled like crispy snacks. I had left plenty of cake behind, but how was I supposed to suppress their hunting instincts? No matter what, in a rat's eyes, cockroaches would always look like food. For all I knew, my newly recruited special task force had already been turned into a midnight snack. The horrifying image in my head scared me so badly that I instantly jumped out of bed, shoved my feet into my slippers, and rushed into the living room with my hair completely messed up. But the expected rats eating cockroaches scene never happened. Instead, the sight in front of me nearly made my jaw hit the floor. It was strangely harmonious. 2 cockroaches were riding on the back of a sewer rat like it was some kind of amusement park ride. All cockroaches looked exactly the same to me, so I couldn't tell who was who. But the rats were easy to recognize. The one dashing wildly around the room while carrying the 2 cockroaches was obviously the loudmouthed big rat himself. The 2 cockroaches clung tightly to his black fur while screaming excitedly. "Boss Rat is amazing. Go faster, boss. Step on it." Meanwhile, in the corner of the room, the rest of the rats and cockroaches were gathered around the pile of cake, happily stuffing their faces together like one big weird family. My face froze in disbelief. I even pinched my own cheek, desperately hoping this was just a hallucination caused by sleep deprivation. Unfortunately, reality slapped me awake harder than ever. Gray Rat was the first to notice me. He immediately scampered over and circled around my feet excitedly. "Sister Ha, you're awake. Are you hungry? We saved lots of cake for you." Lang 107 paused mid-bite and stared at me in surprise. Apparently, he found it shocking that a sewer rat was casually calling a human big sister. He muttered under his breath. "The rats and cockroaches already crawled all over this cake. Humans can still eat it after that? What kind of taste is that?" Gray Rat blinked his tiny bead-like eyes. He finally seemed to realize that every time he invited me to eat together, I always refused. His voice turned pitiful. "Sister Ha, do you hate us because we're dirty?" I sighed and decided to emotionally manipulate him a little. "It's not that I hate you guys. But animals carry bacteria and germs humans can't handle. Human stomachs are fragile. If I eat the same food, I'll end up sick in bed. And if I get sick, who's going to work and buy delicious food for all of you?" After hearing my explanation, Gray Rat instantly cheered up again and hurriedly waved his paws. "Then don't eat it, Sister Ha, seriously, don't get sick. If you get sick, we're all doomed." Lang 107 watched the little rat get psychologically manipulated in less than 10 seconds and completely lost the will to comment. He simply lowered his head and continued chewing on his bread in silence. Seeing me standing there with my arms crossed, Black Rat quickly called out to his cousin. "Boss. Sister Ha is awake. Stop driving around already." Big Rat slammed to a stop, though his face still carried that stubborn, challenging expression. "What? Why are you glaring at me like that? I didn't run into any forbidden areas you warned us about. I stayed inside the approved territory." I glanced around. To be fair, he really had only been running around within the boundaries I had set earlier. Otherwise, I probably would have smacked him on the spot. The two cockroaches riding on his back hurriedly climbed down his fur and nervously explained themselves. "Don't be mad, Sister Ha. We weren't causing trouble. Boss Rat invited us on a sightseeing tour, so we just tagged along." Seeing the murderous look on my face, Black Rat immediately tried to calm things down. "Sister Ha, don't be angry. It was all my cousin's idea." One tiny cockroach still clinging to Big Rat's fur timidly poked out its antennae and asked Gray Rat. "Hey, earlier you called her Sister Ha, right? Can we call her that too?" The childish voice instantly gave away their identities. Lang 666 and Lang 665, the youngest twin cockroaches. I let out a helpless sigh. "Relax. I'm not angry. You guys can call me Sister Ha too." The two little cockroaches immediately squealed excitedly. "Sister Ha." The older cockroaches quickly joined in, calling me Sister Ha over and over until the whole room turned noisy again. At this point, the only ones still talking to me like fellow gang members were the sewer rats. Honestly, I didn't even care anymore. As long as they weren't fighting or eating each other alive, I was already thankful enough to cry tears of joy. Ignoring the bizarre little pets having their feast in the corner, I rummaged through the fridge and salvaged some wilted vegetables and the last egg. I quickly cooked a bowl of instant noodles with a few leftover slices of boiled meat from yesterday. Simple, but enough to fill my stomach. Still, I definitely needed to go grocery shopping tomorrow. Feeding myself alone was already expensive enough, and now I had 3 sewer rats and 7 cockroaches to support. Their food consumption was no joke. Then another thought suddenly crossed my mind. Wait a second. I already had rats and cockroaches. What about flies and mosquitoes? An idea instantly lit up in my head. That's right. Should I recruit a few fly and mosquito scouts too, just to diversify my intelligence network? The problem was that winged insects could fly anywhere they wanted. Food existed everywhere for them. Would they really be willing to work for me just because I offered free meals? It was already late at night, so there was no point going outside searching for bugs. I grabbed my phone and immediately opened Taobao. As expected from the kingdom of online shopping, literally anything could be bought there. Artificial fly breeding farms that supplied fish food were selling fly pupae in bulk. I placed an order immediately. Mosquitoes, however, were impossible to find online. But that wasn't a big issue. The rainy season was approaching soon, and mosquitoes would start multiplying everywhere. I carried a plastic basin out onto the balcony and filled it with water. In just a few days, female mosquitoes would naturally be drawn to the stagnant water and lay eggs there. After finishing everything, I suddenly realized just how amazing unemployment could feel. With a full stomach, I climbed onto the beanbag chair and decided to relax by watching a detective movie. My cheap little apartment didn't have a TV, so I had to use my laptop instead. The vivid sounds from the movie immediately attracted the attention of the 3 rats and 7 cockroaches. One by one, they crawled onto the table and lined up in front of the screen, staring at it with complete focus. Whenever a complicated scene appeared and they couldn't understand what was happening, they would noisily turn toward me and ask for explanations. I patiently became their unwilling narrator, secretly thinking to myself that the more detective and crime investigation movies they watched, the faster they would adapt in the future. When I eventually sent them out to scout crime scenes, they'd know where to look for clues and what counted as important evidence. As the night grew later, my eyelids became heavier and heavier, barely able to stay open. Yet my 10 little employees remained glued to the screen, completely absorbed in the movie. Not wanting to ruin their fun by shutting the laptop off, I switched to a classic Vietnamese crime drama for them instead. If I played Korean dramas with subtitles, those little idiots were completely illiterate anyway, there was no way they'd understand a thing. After everything was done, I rested my head on the table and unknowingly fell asleep. By the time the sunlight hit me straight in the eyes, I slowly woke up in a daze. The laptop was still running because the crime series had autoplayed through the night, but the audience had completely collapsed. Rats and cockroaches were sprawled all over the table, sleeping in every direction. Only one creature was still awake and binge-watching the show, the big rat. Beside him sat an enormous chunk of cake he had apparently reserved for himself. Every time his eyes started drooping, he'd take another bite of sugary frosting. The sugar rush worked like caffeine, keeping him wide awake so he could continue watching. I nearly jumped in shock and patted him on the shoulder. "Good grief, did you seriously binge-watch all night? Aren't you sleepy?" Without taking his eyes off the screen, the big rat nodded. "The show's too addictive. It's at the best part right now." I was speechless. Sure, it was a classic detective drama, but the way he ignored his health just to marathon episodes while snacking non-stop made him look exactly like one of those gossip-loving aunties glued to TV dramas all day. "Alright, give your eyes a rest. I need to shut the laptop down." I reached over to close it. The big rat immediately panicked and grabbed the screen with both front paws. Wait. Don't turn it off yet. They're about to catch the killer. Let me finish this episode first." I frowned and scolded him. "You might not need rest, but my laptop does. I bought this thing back in college with part-time job money, and it's ancient now. If you keep running it all night and the graphics card burns out, are you paying for a new one?" The noisy argument woke up the other rats and cockroaches sleeping nearby. They lifted their sleepy heads and immediately bombarded the big rat with questions. "So who killed the wife in the end? Was it the lover?" "I bet it was the husband." In detective shows, the police always say the spouse is the number one suspect. No way. I think it was the lover's wife acting out of jealousy. Listening to them seriously analyzing a cliché love triangle murder plot almost made me laugh. The big rat lifted his chin proudly and declared, "I already told you it was the husband, but none of you believed me." The guy acted all innocent and clueless, but there's no way he didn't know his wife was cheating. He definitely planned the revenge himself. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, the show revealed that the husband really was the killer. The rats and cockroaches burst into amazed cheers, clapping enthusiastically at their boss's incredible deduction skills while lamenting how badly they had guessed wrong. I couldn't help laughing. They had only watched detective dramas for one night, and somehow their detective instincts were already stronger than mine. Since the episode had finally ended, I decisively shut the laptop to preserve the remaining lifespan of my poor old computer. After a quick breakfast, I was about to call Captain Tran. Ever since agreeing to become a special consultant, I still had no idea what the actual work arrangement looked like. Did I have to show up at the police station every day and clock in? With a salary that tiny, there was no way this could be a full-time job unless they wanted me to starve to death. But before I could even dial his number, Captain Tran called first. "Hamok, be prepared." I immediately jolted upright in panic. "Uncle Tran, is there another case? Or is someone trying to retaliate against me?" Captain Tran laughed. "No, nothing like that. The bureau director wants to meet you. Are you free today? Come by the station." "The director of the city police bureau? Good heavens. What level of important figure was that supposed to be? Why would someone that powerful suddenly want to meet an ordinary nobody like me?" I nervously asked. "Did I break some kind of procedure during the investigation?" Hearing the panic in my voice, Captain Tran quickly reassured me. "Relax, it's a good thing. The director heard that you helped crack 2 major cases back-to-back, so he's very impressed. He values talented young people and simply wants to meet you in person to talk and encourage you." Only then did I breathe a small sigh of relief, though honestly I was still terrified. "Yes, sir. I'll get ready and head to the bureau right away." Gathering my courage, I asked one more question. "Uncle Tran, when there aren't any cases, do I still have to come to the station and clock in every day?" Captain Tran laughed. "No need. Your job is to assist with investigations and help uncover key clues. The routine paperwork and administrative stuff can be handled by the others. I'll call you whenever there's a case. But keep your phone on 24/7, alright? Crimes don't happen on a schedule." If there's an emergency and I call, you need to show up immediately. I felt overjoyed inside. Yes, understood. Flexible hours, no daily attendance requirements, getting paid whenever there was a case, and even carrying the title of consultant. Sure, the job meant sleepless nights, danger, and stressful investigations, but the satisfaction of exposing criminals and helping innocent people find justice was genuinely addictive. After checking the food supply and confirming there was still plenty of cake and leftovers for my bizarre little pets to survive the day, I locked the apartment and took a taxi straight to the police bureau. The moment I stepped into the lobby, a well-dressed man in his 30s wearing a neatly pressed shirt and slacks approached me with a polite smile. "Hello, Ms. Hamak. I'm Tu Thengyi, secretary to Director Tang Chihan. Please follow me. The director is waiting for you in his office." I felt slightly overwhelmed by the formal reception and nodded politely. "Hello, Secretary Tu. Thank you for guiding me." Secretary Tu smiled and led me into the elevator, heading directly to the top floor of the police headquarters. I had seen Director Tang Chihan's portrait before on the bureau bulletin board. In the photo, he looked stern and imposing, with sharp eyes and an overwhelming sense of authority. But meeting him in person felt completely different. He was nearly 60 years old now, with streaks of gray in his hair, yet his eyes remained incredibly alert and energetic. A warm, approachable smile rested on his face, and his demeanor was surprisingly humble and gentle. If he weren't wearing a police uniform and sitting behind that large office desk, it would have been hard to imagine that this was the man leading the city's entire police force. "Hamak, you're here?" Director Tang greeted warmly. I hurriedly bowed my head. "Yes, hello Director Tang. You can just call me Tu Ha." Director Tang laughed heartily. "Haha, don't be so nervous. You're already a special consultant for our bureau now. Without your help, Tu Ha, the homicide team would never have caught Tru Vu that quickly." Deep down, Director Tang was extremely pleased with himself. The serial murder case involving Tru Vu had shaken public opinion, and pressure from higher authorities had been non-stop. Even the city council had sent representatives to personally supervise the investigation. The entire police bureau had been under enormous stress, yet the deadlock had ultimately been broken by a young girl barely out of her 20s. Thanks to that achievement, Director Tang had spent the last few days proudly showing off during meetings with old colleagues from other departments. On top of that, his decision to recruit a civilian with absolutely no formal investigative training as a special consultant had originally sparked plenty of criticism. Yet right after joining, this young woman immediately helped crack another shocking case involving homicide and multiple assaults. The constant stream of success reports had made the 60-year-old director happier than he had been in years. Faced with praise from such a high-ranking official, I relied on the self-deprecating survival skills I had already perfected from previous situations. "You're giving me way too much credit, sir. I could never claim all the credit for myself. Without Captain Tran's decisiveness and Officer Tam Na's investigative skills, there's no way the suspect would have been caught so quickly. I just happened to provide a few lucky clues." After saying that, I noticed Director Tang still wearing a serious expression, and my confidence instantly shrank. Was I really called all the way here just to exchange polite compliments? Or was he about to warn me not to become arrogant because of my achievements? Director Tang seemed to notice my uneasiness and smiled before changing the topic. "Tu Ha, what kind of coffee would you like? Hot or iced?" Inside my head, I practically screamed. Oh no, has the rumor that I'm addicted to bitter coffee already spread through the entire bureau? "Just plain boiled water is fine for me, sir." Director Tang nodded and gave Secretary Tu a subtle glance. The secretary immediately understood, bowed slightly, and quietly stepped out of the office, closing the door behind him. I originally thought Secretary Tu had gone to prepare water for me. Instead, Director Tang personally stood up, walked over to the water dispenser, took a paper cup, carefully poured some water, and carried it over to the guest sofa area. "Come sit here, Tu Ha. Let's chat for a bit." I nervously walked over, my legs feeling stiff as wood, and awkwardly sat on the edge of the sofa. Using both hands, I accepted the cup of water from the powerful bureau director, taking a small sip to ease my dry throat before quietly replying. "Thank you, Director Tang." Director Tang smiled kindly. "I already told you, don't be so nervous. Just think of this as a normal chat between an old man and his niece." Maybe it was his simple and approachable manner, or perhaps the warm water I had just drunk finally taking effect, but my heartbeat slowly steadied again. Gathering my courage, I decided to get straight to the point. "Director Tang, if you asked me to come here, then there must be something important you want to talk to me about, right?" Director Tang gently shook his head, the smile still lingering on his face. "My principle is simple: if I choose to use someone, then I won't doubt them. And if I doubt someone, then I absolutely won't use them." In truth, before signing the recruitment approval, he had personally reviewed the background file Captain Tran submitted about me. 3 generations of honest farmers, clean family history, no criminal record, consistently above-average academic performance, and a hard-working girl who had struggled her way through university. Aside from the fact that my major had absolutely nothing to do with criminal investigation, my record was as clean as a blank sheet of paper. He knew very well that this young girl was hiding some kind of supernatural secret, but for now, she posed no threat whatsoever. On the contrary, she was bringing enormous benefits to the entire Shuyan High Police Department. Keeping such a special individual close by, within his line of sight so he could observe, protect, and guide her, that was the move of a truly skilled commander. Of course, there was no way for me to guess the deep calculations running through his mind. And I wasn't naive enough to believe that the director of a police department could so easily place absolute trust in a complete stranger like me. But as long as I continued to provide value to the department, my position would remain secure. Thinking that through, I hugged the paper cup and took a few more sips of water, deciding to stay quiet and wait for him to make the first move. Director Tang seemed slightly surprised by the calmness and strong mental defenses of this young girl. He let out a hearty laugh before finally dropping the decisive bombshell. "I heard from Tu Tran that you're very eager to receive the 350 million reward from the Truvu case, right?" Bullseye. That was the sweetest sound in the world I had been dying to hear. My eyes instantly lit up, and I nodded repeatedly. "Yes, sir. That money is really important to me right now." Director Tang nodded thoughtfully. "I'll personally urge the finance department to speed up the payment process for you. But there's one condition: you'll need to cooperate with the department during the award ceremony, take a few commemorative photos, and accept an interview with the media." The words "media interview" hit me like a bucket of ice water dumped straight over my head. I frowned immediately, a bad feeling creeping into my chest. Going on television for an interview meant my face would be plastered all over the local news. Even if it was just some tiny regional station nobody cared about, there was still a high chance my family would accidentally stumble across it. And once that bloodsucking family found out I had just received a 350 million reward, more than 1 billion Vietnamese dong, for helping solve a case, those 3 greedy parasites would never let me live in peace again. They would swarm around me and drain every last cent dry. "Director Tang, is it possible for me not to participate in the interview?" I asked pleadingly. Director Tang looked slightly surprised. Young people these days all loved fame. Who wouldn't want to appear on television and proudly show off their achievements? Why was this girl rejecting it so firmly? After a moment of thought, he cautiously asked, "Are you afraid of retaliation from the criminal's accomplices?" The moment I heard the word retaliation, my eyes widened in panic. Wait, that case had accomplices too? Director Tang quickly waved his hand reassuringly. No, don't be scared. That Tru Vu was a lone offender, a criminal with antisocial personality disorder. He had no accomplices. And even if someone did want revenge, they wouldn't be foolish enough to target an ordinary civilian like you. Only then did I finally relax and let out a relieved breath. Director Tang continued in a serious tone. "Chu Ha, once you choose to work alongside the police, danger is something you can never completely avoid. You need to prepare yourself mentally for that. Even in your daily life, you'll have to pay more attention to your personal safety. I nodded solemnly. Yes, sir. I understand. Thank you for the reminder. Director Tang steered the conversation back to the main issue. So what exactly is bothering you so much about appearing on television for an interview? I thought about it for a moment before asking bluntly. Director Tang, if I agree to do the media interview, will the 3.5 million reward be released faster? Director Tang smiled and gave a small nod. Of course. Having you appear publicly will help improve the department's image and strengthen the people's trust in our police force. With that as justification, it'll be much smoother and more legitimate for me to sign off on speeding up the reward payment from the state treasury. Deal. I agree. I accepted immediately without the slightest hesitation. Deep down, I knew there was no way I could keep that massive amount of money hidden from that cold-blooded family forever. Sooner or later, they would find out. Since that was inevitable, I might as well take the money and run far away, move somewhere distant, cut off all contact completely, and draw a clean line between myself and them. 3.5 million was more than enough for me to start a brand new life. After that, the conversation gradually relaxed. Director Tang casually asked a few more questions about my work. Chu-ha, are you adjusting well to the work pace of the criminal investigation team? Any inconveniences? If you run into any trouble that Tu-tran can't handle, just come straight to me. My office door will always be open for you. I smiled politely. Yes, sir. Thank you, Director Tang. Everyone at the department has treated me very well and taken great care of me. In reality, Director Tang was an extremely busy man with countless responsibilities. After exchanging a few polite words, I excused myself so I wouldn't disturb his work any longer. But the moment I stepped into the main lobby of the police department, I immediately ran into Captain Tran. Beside him stood a familiar-looking middle-aged man. Judging by their expressions, the two of them had clearly been arguing heatedly about something. I was still standing there in confusion, about to greet them, when both men suddenly turned and spotted me. Their expressions changed instantly. Then, like athletes sprinting for an Olympic gold medal, both of them charged straight toward me at full speed. Hamok! Captain Tran shouted. Miss Hamok, the middle-aged man yelled as well. With two grown men charging at me so aggressively, I nearly jumped out of my skin. I hurriedly took half a step back and instinctively hid behind Captain Tran. Only then did I finally get a good look at the middle-aged man's face. He immediately spoke up enthusiastically. Miss Ha, we've met before, remember? I'm Pham Hui, Deputy Captain of the Criminal Investigation Division of Bac Sun City Police Department. Ah, right. I remembered now. This Deputy Captain Pham Hui was the same guy who had sneered at the clues I provided during the True Vu case, dismissing them as worthless fantasy nonsense. I gave a small nod, greeted him politely, then turned toward Captain Tran. Captain Tran, I've already finished speaking with Director Tang. If there's nothing else, I'd like to head home first. Captain Tran had just opened his mouth to respond when Pham Hui suddenly jumped in and cut him off, sounding frantic. There is something extremely important that requires Miss Ha's help. Captain Tran frowned irritably. Deputy Captain Pham, what's wrong with you? Why are you barging in so rudely? Internally, he was already cursing the man out. Of all times to stick his nose into things, why now? Pham Hui elbowed Captain Tran and shamelessly continued. Captain Tran, this concerns human lives. This is no joke. Miss Ha has every right to refuse, but even Director Tang already approved my request to borrow her assistance, so why are you stopping me? Seeing the confusion written all over my face, Captain Tran could only sigh helplessly and explain the situation. It turned out that Pham Hui had personally traveled all the way down from the city police headquarters because of a horrifying serial murder case known as the Rainy Night Killer. I frowned. What a cunning old fox, he had covered his tracks perfectly. So did he delete the clip? Or was he just bluffing Feng Linlin? I asked. Captain Tran shook his head. Tam Na questioned her again. Feng Linlin is certain he showed her that video before. He kept it on his office computer and his home computer. He even went as far as playing the clip while video calling her to threaten her. That blackmail video definitely exists. I let out a long sigh. Feng Linlin was too timid, she had so many chances to preserve evidence but didn't dare. While feeling frustrated at her, I also cursed that perverted old man Ma Hoa Min. No matter what, we had to bring that video to light and expose his true face to the entire company. When we arrived, the police had already sealed off the area and were searching Ma Hoa Min's office. Colleagues from the department were being questioned individually about his relationship with Feng Linlin, as well as details from the party 2 months ago. What's going on? Why are the police here? I heard Manager Ma got into trouble. They're questioning people about his relationship with that girl, Feng Linlin. You haven't heard? Ma's already gone. And Feng Linlin was his mistress, they were together in a hotel when he died. No way. Feng Linlin looks so sweet and innocent. How could she get involved with that bald old man? Standing in a corner, listening to the office gossip spreading like wildfire, I couldn't help but feel shocked. The speed at which workplace drama spread was faster than the speed of light. My workplace buddy, Bai Tu Ka, waved excitedly the moment he saw me. But when he noticed I was with Captain Tran, he froze, eyes wide and mouth agape. How could an ordinary employee like me be escorted to work by such a high-ranking police officer? I asked Captain Tran for permission and walked over to Bai Tu Ka. Unable to contain his curiosity, he grabbed my arm and bombarded me with questions. Mak, why are you with the police? Have you heard about Ma's case? He's dead, and Feng Linlin was his mistress. I nodded and replied calmly. I've heard about it. Actually, more than that, I saw the scene with my own eyes. Bai Tu Ka sucked in a sharp breath. Oh my God, don't tell me he was murdered? Did Feng Linlin kill him? A true armchair detective, every guess right on the mark. But since the investigation was still ongoing, I couldn't reveal anything, so I changed the subject. Tu Ka, I came to the office today to submit my resignation. Starting tomorrow, I won't be working here anymore. Bai Tu Ka's jaw dropped. His face filled with panic and utter shock, he looked even more stunned than when he heard about old Ma's death. You're quitting? Why all of a sudden? Your job was going just fine. The economy's rough right now, finding a new job is insanely hard. Don't be impulsive. Inside, he was screaming. The pain of losing his partner in crime, the one he went to the restroom with, snuck snacks with, and badmouthed the boss with, hurt 1,000 times more than old Ma's death. Old Ma dying might rid the company of a shady boss, but if Mak quit, who was Bai Tu Ka supposed to rely on to survive office life? His eyes welled up. He grabbed my hand and shook it. Mak, please think this through. Now that old Ma is gone, maybe the new boss will be a good person. Maybe things will finally get easier for our department. I let out a long sigh. In a company that squeezes employees dry like this, a good boss is a myth. The corporate culture is rotten from the top down. I did like this office buddy of mine. But all good things come to an end, and I had already found a much better place. I patted his shoulder to comfort him. I'm starting at my new job tomorrow. Take care of yourself. I hope you get promoted to manager soon. With your gossiping skills, I believe in you. Hearing that, Bai Tu Ka burst into tears right in the middle of the office. A passing police officer saw him crying so miserably and stopped to question him. What's your relationship with the victim, Ma Hoa Min? Why are you so devastated over your boss's death? Still crying, Bai Tu Ka snapped. Who would want anything to do with that bald old man? If he's dead, good riddance. I'm crying for myself, I just lost my best partner for slacking off at work. Wah! The police officer glanced at me, and all I could do was shrug helplessly. He shook his head in exasperation and walked away, smacking his lips as he thought to himself. From now on, her work buddy belongs to the police force. After comforting Vai Ka, I quickly went through the resignation procedures. When I returned to Ma Hoa Min's office, the police were still tearing the place apart, but the result was a big fat 0. The computer was spotless, not a single trace left behind. Aside from a few password-protected links to adult videos, there was nothing of value. Strange, if the clip wasn't stored in the cloud and wasn't on the computer's hard drive, then where did he keep it? A USB drive, perhaps? I rubbed my chin, thinking. That would explain how he could easily plug it into the office computer to watch, then take it home to threaten her. Captain Tran nodded. The investigation team considered that too. But after searching, we only found one USB drive containing company project files, no explicit clip whatsoever. I scanned the room. Every possible hiding spot had been turned upside down. Filing cabinets and desk drawers had been pulled out of place. In this kind of chaotic environment, even cockroaches would have been scared off. There was no way to extract anything useful here anymore. This place was a dead end. Maybe we should shift our focus to searching Ma Hoa Min's house instead. I made the suggestion. Captain Tran agreed, but he had urgent matters to handle back at headquarters. The case seemed straightforward, the suspect had confessed, and the poisoning evidence was already in place. The rest could be handled by his subordinates. So Tam Na was assigned to drive me straight to Ma Hoa Min's house. On the way, Tam Na told me how he had pressed Feng Lin Lin about the clip and any evidence related to being forced to entertain clients. But Feng Lin Lin insisted that all those shady dealings were conducted face-to-face. Ma never left any messages or written traces. All she did was cry hysterically, repeating the same line, "He really did rape me." "Ms. Ha," Tam Na suddenly spoke. "Do you believe her?" I knew he was skeptical. With 0 physical evidence, the possibility that Feng Lin Lin fabricated the rape story to reduce her sentence was very high. The police rely on evidence, not words alone. Tam Na muttered, "I'm a police officer. I only believe in evidence." I stared out the window at the bustling traffic of the glittering city, my voice firm. I believe her. If she hadn't been pushed to the brink, a decent girl would never willingly become a plaything for a scumbag like that old man. Tam Na let out a long breath, as if some of the psychological burden had been lifted. He spoke casually. "If we can obtain a letter of leniency from the victim's family, her sentence could be significantly reduced." I turned sharply to look at him, getting straight to the point. "You want me to step in and ask Chow Ti Nok to forgive Feng Lin Lin?" Tam Na didn't expect me to catch on so quickly, but he nodded in admission. "Last night you brought Chow Ti Nok to the hotel to catch them in the act. That shows you two have a fairly good relationship. Maybe if you speak, she'll listen." I neither agreed nor refused, only replied vaguely. "We'll see how things go." That said, if there was a way to give Feng Lin Lin a chance to survive, I would do it willingly, even without being asked. For the rest of the journey, neither of us spoke. When we arrived, Chow Ti Nok had already been notified and opened the door to receive us. Tam Na briefly explained the situation of the case, mainly trying to prompt whether she recalled anything unusual about her husband. "Ms. Chow," Tam Na said in a serious tone. "We're here to gather clues regarding the suspicion that Ma Hoa Min committed sexual assault against Ms. Feng Lin Lin. We hope you can cooperate and provide information." Hearing that they had come to find evidence proving that Ma Hoa Min had assaulted Feng Lin Lin, Chow Ti Nok was both shocked and furious. "What? That girl dares to accuse my husband of violating her?" After saying that, she turned to look at me, her eyes full of suspicion. "Ha Mok, you knew about this too?" I quickly replied. "Yes, I only found out last night while watching Feng Lin Lin give her statement at headquarters." Chow Ti Nok stared at me in confusion, clearly trying to piece things together. How could an outsider like me have the authority to sit in on a suspect's interrogation, while she, the victim's family member, wasn't even allowed? "Why would you?" Seeing Chow Ti Nok staring at me intently, Tam Na quickly stepped in to ease the situation. "Ms. Chow, Ha Mok here is actually a special consultant invited by our department. She has already made a major contribution in helping us solve a serious case. We brought her along today in the hope that she can help bring this case to light as well. Chow Tinock was utterly stunned. A special consultant? The country girl who used to be ordered around by Ma Hoa Min to drive and pick her up, was actually a consultant for the criminal police? She looked at me with a complicated expression. Mak, I didn't expect you to be this capable. I let out a soft sigh. Ms. Chow, when I took you to catch them in the act, it was only because I didn't want you to keep being deceived by him. I never expected things to spiral this far.